Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another video today, this time on one of my favorite intellectual properties, the X-Files, with government conspiracies, UFOs, fucking clones. Can you hurry the fuck up, please? I'm in the middle of something. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm not talking about the TV show, although that will come up in these videos. Yeah, very good. Well done. I am talking about the comic series released by Topps in 1995 to kind of correspond with the 2nd to 5th seasons of the... seriously? I'm recording and you've got to do a shit. Can you fucking get him out of here, please? Oh, Jesus, fuck. Oh, good fucking job, idiot. Oh, fuck you too. Anyway, look, let's just get into it. This is another edition of... So, as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by those two fucking idiots, one of which is still taking a shit, I would assume. In 1995, Topps released a series of X-Files comics. The show was gaining popularity, of course, after season 1. It kind of picked up a lot of steam. As I said in the intro, it is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And I walked into a newsagent's one afternoon after school and saw the first issue, promptly bought it, loved it, bought every issue that was released, ran from issue 1 through to issue 41 with a weird kind of half issue in the middle there. What happened to my single issue comics, I know, and other people out there know, but I'm not going to get into it here because it makes me very bitter. But IDW did end up releasing the X-Files Classics collection, which collects all of the Topps comics in 4 beautiful volumes, hardcover. You open them up, you see they have the original comic cover and everything like that. So I thought I would go through them today. Those of you that have never heard about these comics or don't know about these comics, I strongly urge you to check them out. Now, the first volume collects issues 1 to 9, and we have everything from a religious conspiracy to governments testing chemicals on a town, an alien entity that eats radiation, trepanning, which is drilling a hole in the center of the forehead to kind of awaken the third eye and latent psychic powers and that kind of cool stuff, with a little bit of cannibalism thrown in there. All of these stories do not seem to connect until you get to the 3-part issues 10, 11, and 12, the 3-part series Feelings of Unreality, which actually begins in, or which is actually the beginning, I should say, of the 2nd volume of this, which has one of the creepiest covers I've ever seen in my life. Now, Feelings of Unreality ties the first 9 issues together into one kind of overarching story arc and really is absolutely fantastic. So you can say issues 1 to 12 is one self-contained story, very much like an entire season of the show. Now, after this 12-issue story arc, we start to get a couple of one-offs. Issue 13 kind of deals with AI and a vengeful computer program, very much like one of the early episodes of the show, but a little bit better in my opinion. Issue 14 is an absolutely amazing standout issue called Falling. Now, this story is basically a group of kids believe they've discovered a crashed UFO. Mulder goes to investigate, and they trap him, thinking he's an extraterrestrial, and they slowly start to go crazy as the radiation is leaking from what they believe to be a UFO. It is an amazing story and one well worth the read. After that, we get a couple of two-parters, something with survivalists in the woods in a UFO, very much like the militia compounds you sometimes find in America. We have a Bermuda Triangle story, which is very wordy, kind of lame, but has a really, really good ending. And then something to do with ball lightning, which was really just boring. Now, the problem with the second volume, in my opinion, is the art is inconsistent. The artists on the comic change quite a bit from issue to issue. And that's something that you normally find with comic books. But in this case, it is actually really quite jarring. Issue 3, the third collection, I should say, not issue 3. This is where the stories start to go a bit downhill. You have stuff with a killer camera, a vengeful Hawaiian spirit, which I thought the story was pretty good. Organ donor trying to get the organs back. A really stupid story about a killer trench coat. It's as dumb as it fucking sounds. Then we get something to do with Boy Scouts and a Wendigo, or it could be a bear. We don't know. Spoiler alert, it's a fucking bear, so who really cares? And volume 3 ends on a two-part story arc called NDE, which, it's a three-part story arc called Remote Control. The two-part story arc is in the next volume. Anyway, Remote Control. This has everything. This has psychics. This has government conspiracies. This has Libyan terrorists. It's fucking awesome. Okay, final volume. This is the one that has NDE in it. And yes, I do have notes for this because there is a lot that I want to talk about. This one starts with a couple of issues about killer dust. Yeah, again, it's as dumb as it sounds, but great ending to the story. There are a couple of comics about animals, one with noise causing murders of crows to go crazy and kill people, and one with dolphins that were submarine or UFO salvage things or whatever. But this one has the two-part NDE series in it, which is not necessarily a great story because it doesn't really go anywhere. But what this story does well is you get to see Scully on the day before the very first episode of the X-Files, where she's going in to meet the SAC, Blevins, I think his name was, in that very first episode where she gets assigned to the X-Files. You get to see the lunch she has with her friends from the academy the day before, where they're all talking about it, which is really the first appearance of Tom Colton, which you might remember as that slimy little fuck from the season 1, episode 3, Squeeze. He is the one that kind of brings Scully in on the Eugene Victor Toombs case, which Mulder and her then kind of take over. And there's that jealous rivalry between Agent Colton and Mulder going through that episode. And that's what these stories really do best, is they have things in there for the fans of the show. You have a little bit of X in here. He is the guy that kind of took over helping Mulder after Deep Throat was killed at the end of season 1. You get a couple more stories about UFOs and government conspiracies, and then this volume, and in fact the entire series, ends on kind of a downer. It's a werewolf story that has a lot of potential but really goes nowhere. Ultimately, I absolutely love these books. They are beautifully bound. You have the tassels, which will help you keep your place. And I highly recommend you getting them, if you're a fan of the show, of course. Now, a few years back, way before they made season 10, IDW released season 10 as a comic book series as well. And these are all the, this is the whole collection in hardcover form, 1 to 5. I recently got volume 4 and volume 5. Very happy about that. Now, the X-Files did what a lot of TV shows did, and that is continue the stories they wanted to tell in comic book form. Smallville did it with season 11, I believe, or season 10. I can't forget which one. Buffy the Vampire Slayer did it with season 8, was done in comic book form, which excellent stories, but when Xander hooks up with Dawn, it's a little bit weird. But I'm not here to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, these comics here, not good, in my opinion. Volume 1 has, there are 5 issues in each comic. That's why, in each volume, that's why they're a little thin. This one has a 5-part series called Believers, which is basically about how Mulder and Scully get reintegrated back into the FBI and put back on the X-Files. There are a lot of throwbacks to the actual TV show, and that's, I think, where these miss, is they try to do too much fan service. You have Agent Doggett, you have Agent Reyes, who kind of took over the X-Files when Mulder was abducted. But they're not in it for very long. And I really don't know the point. Hopefully, as the stories kind of complete, you find out what happened to Doggett and Reyes. I haven't actually finished reading these because, like I said, I just recently got volumes 4 and 5. But you do have a few standout moments. You get, in the second volume, there is a 2-part story which gives you more of a backstory on Fluke Man, who you might remember from season 2, episode 2, The Host. And you actually find out how the Russian sailor was infected to begin with. It's an okay story, a really gruesome ending as well, which is kind of cool. You get backstories on what happened to the lone gunmen after their supposed deaths in the series. You get a really great story called More Musings of the Cigarette Smoking Man, which is a throwback to, I believe, season 3, episode 4, where Frohickey discovers a short story written by the Cigarette Smoking Man, also known as Spender. And so this is just kind of more of his backstory and his relationship with the Mulder family, particularly Mulder's mother, in that kind of dynamic there. You also get a throwback to the Black Oil, which was made famous in the Tunguska 2-part episode, but really made his first appearance in season 3, episode 15, Piper Maru, which, fun fact, Piper is the name of Dana Scully, Gillian Anderson's daughter. That's why the ship is kind of named after the daughter. Now, you might be saying, oh, why are you telling us about this if you don't like the books? Because it's fucking X-Files, man. X-Files is awesome. But comic books might not be your thing. So once again, IDW has come through just for you. And there are collections of short stories written by some really well-known writers like Kevin J. Anderson and many, many others. These stories are great. Really captures the feeling of the show. Really just well-written short stories, if that's your thing. If short stories are not your thing, and I know a lot of people out there don't like reading short stories, then you can actually go back on Amazon and you can find the original novels that came out with the show. When the show was gaining in popularity, there is Goblins, Ruins, Ground Zero. And more recently, there are a couple of novels written about a teenage Mulder and a teenage Scully, which I haven't read because they actually just sound stupid, but hey, you might like them. But if, oh, by the way, those Those books can also be found on Audible. That's where I'm listening to them at the moment. But if that is really not your thing and you like something a little more dramatic, then check out on Audible the X-Files Cold Cases, which is an adaptation of the first 5 issues of the IDW Season 10 series as an audio drama or radio play with Gillian Anderson as Scully, David Duchovny as Mulder, Mitch Pileggi as Deputy Director Skinner now, not Assistant Director Skinner. And yeah, it's really, really good, and I highly, highly recommend it. So that is a quick roundup on the X-Files. Sorry if you were expecting me to go into more detail about the show or about board games or about computer games or whatever, but as we all know, this is called Read a Fucking Book, people. So please go out there and read a fucking book, people, and in the meantime, I'm going to get this fucking asshole out of the bathroom and go and kill another clone. Stay safe, everyone.